Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to the Outside the Box podcast. I am Jacques Slade. I'm happy to have you guys here. We got a really good show for you today. Got some topics that we really want to dig into to ask you guys about. But, you know, again, this show isn't just about me and what I think. We have some really, I'm going to say illuminating. I'm going to use the word intelligent. I'm going to say fascinating. And you know what? I'm going to go with captivating as well. These two individuals are next level when it comes, not just sneakers. They're just good people in general, and that's why I have them on this show. I'm talking about the one or the two and Toonly, I'm talking about Tiffany and Nick. They're on this show as well, and they really make this show pop. Nick, go ahead and tell them where they can find you.
Nick Engvall, NickEngvall on all platforms, and yeah, I'm just excited to be back. It feels good to get to talk to my two friends here, and I don't know if we can live up to all those extenuating words that Jacques used, but hopefully we can. So Tiffany, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Tiffany Beers. You can find me on Instagram and YouTube at Tiffany Beers, TiffanyBeers. And I agree, that was a lot of adjectives. A lot of adjectives for this show.
Hey, you know what? I just give out the facts here on the show, and those are hashtag facts. So let's get this show started. First, as always, I just want to thank the audience for paying attention to what we have to say, listening to us, whether you're on your way to work, whether you're listening to us and you shouldn't be, and you're instead of doing your homework, or if you should be working and instead you're laughing at all of my amazing dad jokes. And that's what you know, that we appreciate that. And you can also find us all over the internets at Outside Pods. That's on the Twitters and on the Instagrams, in case you were wondering how social media savvy we are. Let's kick this show off with the top 10 best-selling sneakers of February. And there are some surprises in this list. So let's just play a little game. Have both of you seen this list already, or can I ask you some questions about it and just kind of reveal it to you guys as we go?
I glanced at it, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, I looked at it. So
you got it. Okay. Okay. All right. So ruin the game. Great, guys. Thanks.
So much for those adjectives.
First of all, yeah. So much for those compliments. So first, looking at the list, one thing that I do notice is there are no. It's one brand basically. It's all Nike basically. Nike and Jordan. Can we call? Okay. Can we just say all one brand? Can we just say Nike when we refer to Jordan, or do we have to say Nike and Jordan? Is like what's the official ruling there?
I mean they all have the same mother company. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So that's like saying Google if you're talking, but like Google and YouTube, those are two.
That's true.
Companies. They're owned by the Alphabet company, the ABC company, or whatever they call themselves. And we call them separate. You know what? I'm going to make an official decision. Hereby, as of this moment on this night, spoken by this person, we hereby grant, therefore, and in fortitude and future ways, announce that when said person shall reference the company in Beaverton, Oregon, known as Nike, that if said person would like to also reference subsidiary company known as Jordan Brand, aka Air Jordan, that said companies will be mentioned separately.
Let's
Nike
get some royalty in
Jordan.
here to make this official or something.
Yeah.
Yes, can I get a lawyer in here and a candle that I can light with fire and put my stamp on it? Because I think that's how you make things official. So for the first shoe on the list is the Air Jordan 6, which actually makes sense because they had that a couple of colorways of the Air Jordan 6 release during February. But the second shoe threw me completely for a loop, and it's the Jordan 6 rings. First, I didn't know they were still releasing the Jordan 6 rings. And second, I didn't know that there were enough of them out there that it would be the second most popular shoe for February. Am I the only one in the dark about the 6 rings here?
I mean, I wasn't aware that it was releasing again, but you know, I think the Jordan 6 rings is kind of like a lot of those, you know, like there's like the sneakerhead shoes, and then there's like everyone else shoes, right? And the 6 rings is kind of like across those lines. But one thing is like that like style that has that Jordan 11 look is, to me, is like always a win for Nike to put out, because the people that aren't 100% familiar with the Jordan 11 might see it and just think, oh, cool, Jordans, you know, and it's a, you know, Space Jam colorway or whatever. So they're just in on that, you know, kind of note. But then there's also the price point of them. You know, with the Jordan 11, you're looking at 200 plus, 225 plus. With this one, you're at 160, I think, or 165. So I don't know. I mean, I would think that there would be more thought behind that, but maybe Tiffany, you could give some insight into that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. All I can think right now is that, well, for one, February is a short month, so you don't get all those days that you get in the other ones, right?
Right.
And 2, it's kind of focused on Valentine's Day and taxes, so maybe it's not a popular shoe month. Because this one, very surprising to me that this whole list is a little bit surprising to me, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, all Nike and Air Jordan and primarily basketball shoes, right? I mean, I guess it's split
that's
pretty
true.
good, but there's a lot of basketball shoes in there. Air Max, a couple Air Maxes, Air Force One, Jordan 9, Jordan 1, 6 rings, 6. Jordan 1 mid-winterized. I guess I don't read too much into this. Month-to-month selling, not such a big deal. I don't think of February as a big collector month. To be honest, I didn't even look at sneakers once in February. There's just too many other things going on for me. But
So many other things going on, yeah.
Yeah.
And so here's the strange thing for me. Like, I feel like February is All-Star.
Yeah.
And I felt like there would be more like All-Star related sneakers in this list.
good point.
But I don't see that. Like, you have the Air Jordan 6 was released, but that was like, and I think I'm assuming this is the what was the name of that store? Social
Status. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's where that Air Jordan 6 comes from, because everybody was trying to get their hands on that one. But I don't remember an Air Jordan 9. Nothing pops to mind of an Air Jordan 9 that released that month, or the Air Jordan 1. I feel like the Air Jordan 1 is slowly but surely becoming that going to release whenever kind of shoe, which is everything that I want it to be. If the Jordan 1 is always available, I will be happy.
Yeah. It's like sneaker of the month. You can always guarantee a Jordan 1, right? Like, there's always going to be one in the mix.
Yeah.
And if you look at the 6 rings now, it's discounted, right? It's $147.97, which is rare to see on Nike, not, totally zeroed out numbers. It was originally $165. So if it was such a hit in February and it's discounted and we're at the end of March, that means it didn't sell out, and all the colorways are still available. There's some that are limited sizing, but it makes me think that this is just not a big month.
Yeah,
or maybe it's because it was on. Maybe it was because it was discounted. Once it gets below that 150 marker, maybe people are like, "Oh, now I can grab a pair of these."
Maybe.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, so now that I think about it, like the Infrared 6 came out the beginning of February, right? So that's the big, like, the big shoe for the month by far.
Right.
But I also think that, like, from my experience working at, Finish Line and working with other retailers, I don't think that, I mean, as much as I'd like to think that, like, my opinion as a sneakerhead is, like, always, super valuable, and, like, we all kind of have this, like, oh, well, the sneakerheads do this, so that's what it means, or they lead the charge. This really just goes to show that, like, it's not about sneakerheads, for most people. Like, the business runs on, like, the normal, not obsessed consumer, right? They're going to buy whatever happens to be in front of them that they like. there could be the 6 rings with a Space Jam colorway. There could be the new 270 that gets, you know, some hype, and they see the ads, like, because I would think that, like, that's one of those shoes, the 270 for instance, that the campaigns to push that shoe out probably are reaching, you know, like, non-sneakerhead consumers. So
yeah,
to me, I think this kind of just shows that as much as, like, sneakerheads think that they're the most important piece of the puzzle, they're not really. Like, they are a piece of the puzzle, but the business kind of flows, like, in bulk around a different group of people for a lot of these retailers and brands.
Yeah, I mean, the GR releases, as we like to call them in the sneaker world, are what carry the market, clearly. If it was up to sneakerheads, you know, there would be no shoe business, based on the type of thing, the only things that we like to buy. So it definitely makes a difference. I do want to give a shout out, though, to the Air Force One Low coming in at number 6. Represent, because the Air Force One Low is always going to be, I feel like it's going to always be on every best-selling sneaker list for every year. Like, that shoe just does not lose. It's what was it? When did it come out? 82?
Yeah, 82, 83, yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. And also, the Nike Tangent. Oh, what were you gonna say, Tiff?
Well, it came out before cars were invented, practically. I mean, that shoe is so old that I can't even believe it's still selling. I mean, talk about. I mean, when you have a shoe that's invented in the '80s and it is still as big as it is now, what's that tell you about shoes?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so I like a shout out to the Tanjun. Is that what we decided to call it?
Is it Tanjun?
I like to be, you know, a little more direct and call it Tan June.
Tanjun.
As though I'm tan in June, right? Because I would like to be tan in June. Such a classic, solid sneaker, $65. This shoe is never gonna go away. I mean, it's fantastic, and I'm not surprised to see it there at all. It's so basic and so simple, and it's just at a great price point. Like, I think this is one of the best buys. If you're looking for a comfortable sneaker at a lower price point, this is your shoe.
So so last year I actually bought a pair of these because I was so curious as to why so many people were buying them, and they're definitely comfortable. But, like, there's almost no rubber on the bottom of the shoe. It's that weird material that sometimes they use for the bottom of sneakers instead of, like, the rubber. It's like interesting. I don't know what that
unit sole. It's usually called unit sole, so it's foam that has rubber in it.
Yeah, okay, that's what it is then. Unit sole, and it's like, people just love it. People love this sneaker. Like, it's at Kohl's. I think I've seen it at Sears or J.C. Penney's or something like that. And, you know, at this price point, it's an easy buy. And I mostly see women in it, and I see them wear it with, like, workout clothes. It's kind of like their workout style sneaker for the woman that doesn't want to spend a lot of money but still wants to have that sort of look. I feel like I've seen them a lot in this sneaker. And it's not a bad looking sneaker, especially if you get the right colorway. I really like the lighter colorways. I think when they mix like a lighter colorway with like a white swoosh, those really look nice. The ones with the white outsole, the black outsole ones don't look as nice to me. But, you know, maybe that's just me. But I think it's a popular sneaker.
Yeah, definitely. I also think that, like, from, you know, just from an aesthetic standpoint, at $65. That shoe looks a lot cooler at first glance than, let's say, like a Roshe or, you know, something else that's going to be at that price point. Because, like, you know, the other shoes that you're looking at that price point are like a Monarch or potentially like a Cortez, which look old, right? They have a very, like, dated style. Not that that's it's in style right now, but, like, for the, you know, let's say, the fashionable, like, you know, athleisure moms, this shoe looks like it fits their outfit better than those other $65 shoes, in my opinion.
No, that's a good call. That's a good call. And what was that sole unit called again, Tiffany?
Unit sole. So and I don't know if that's the external name. But yeah, so it's on a lot of Nike Frees. So it has rubber in it. It's a foam, but it has rubber in it, so it's a little bit more durable. It could just be an EVA too, I guess. on some level. It's hard to say. I don't really know what they're using in that, but I know it's cheap, so it'd be surprising if it was Unisol.
Yeah.
But yeah, this, I think, though, keep in mind, we were talking about in one of the previous podcasts how Payless was going out of business, right? Mm-hmm. And so I wonder if any of these shoes have upticked since Payless has started to go out of business because people aren't able to find the kind of lower price point shoes.
That's a great point.
Right. So they can get something like this, and like, you know, and for most people that don't, you know, that aren't, you know, involved in the sneaker world, seeing something like this is, you know, it gets them into the world of Nike, and they don't feel like, oh, I'm not paying an arm and a leg for a pair of Nikes like everyone else. Because I would imagine to the majority of the population, a Nike is a Nike is a Nike. Like, there's no difference. Like, whether it has LeBron James' name on it or it has like this soft sock-like upper that's on the tangent, it's like, it's just a Nike shoe to them. You know, they don't really care about anything more. So for them, you know, they're just like, oh, now I have Nikes now. And, you know, I'm able to get them at $65, and I'm not going to pay $150 or $160 or $200 like those crazy people that like to wear those expensive sneakers. Like, it doesn't matter that much to me.
Yep.
So I get it.
That's so funny because, like, if you actually, this is funny. As soon as you started talking about this, I started thinking, but if you paid by how much effort actually went into the product to figure out the technology and figure out the fit and everything like that, shoes are cheap, actually, compared to the historical information and knowledge that's kind of going into them, if you will. To find a pair of shoes that's $65 and fits good and is comfortable for all day wear is actually, like, I think it's a hard challenge because that's a low price point.
Oh, really? So you think it's more difficult for something like that?
Oh, for sure.
Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, because you still expect the same fit and comfort, right? So even though Nike talks about, and not even just Nike, all the brands, they talk about this super comfortable shoe at $200, they still have to hit a level of comfort at $65 and $50, right? Like, it's not like you can just abandon and put a brick under there. With an upper, that doesn't matter.
Right.
And you know, the lower price point shoes definitely learn from the higher price point shoes, and they learn from the history of all of it. But I mean, making a really quality product at a lower price point is always challenging. Same with kids' shoes, right? Kids' shoes are very challenging because their price points are so low, but you know, the consumer demands the same level of quality, construction, and technology as adult shoes. So it's quite it can be quite challenging.
Yeah,
that's interesting, and that's something that I don't think a lot of us think about is how the technology from older shoes kind of trickles down further and further down into the lower price shoes over the years, and like the stuff that was top tier years ago is now in like the bargain basement shoes, and they're using that technology as obviously as the price of manufacturing and all that kind of stuff goes down. So you do still get some of the best technology that we've seen in sneakers, but it's just years after the fact.
Yeah, like if you take the technology that's in a Chuck Taylor, right? It really hasn't changed that much, right, over the years. Like it's, you know, a vulcanized sole, you know, maybe they put a new sock liner, maybe they've had some changes in foams, but if you take that compared to this Tanjun, you know, like I think the Tanjun, even if it's unit sole or however the midsole is probably a bit more advanced and probably a bit more comfortable. But that would be an interesting study to actually do, you know, when I get my sneaker Mythbusters running.
Yeah.
There you go. That's what I want to get going. For those of those in the comments, tell Tiffany to get her sneaker Mythbusting going. Tell her stop messing with us, teasing us with it, teasing us. All right, and since we're talking about Nike, let's talk about some, I'm going to say the weirdest news I have heard when it comes to a sneaker brand. And I guess it's really not even the sneaker brand's fault. It's a lawyer's fault. So Michael Avenatti tried to extort, it sounds like, $20 million, $22.5 million, I think to be exact, from Nike in order to kill basically a story about them paying certain people in the college world are paying certain players in order to go to college and to go to certain colleges and all that sort of stuff. And sorry to laugh at you, Michael, but the best part about all of this is that he tweeted out that he was going to expose Nike the next day at a press conference, and it was going to be this big, huge deal. And then, like 5 minutes later, the feds were at his door arresting him for extortion, which is hilarious to me. This guy, I mean, I just think at the end of the day, he just isn't a good guy. He's just, you know, he's just a bad seed, it seems like. And like, you know, you try to give people the benefit of the doubt, and you know, you want them to be good people at the end of the day, but it doesn't seem like that's the situation in this case. Avenatti, he has said that he is fighting all charges, by the way, and he has a statement. So I just want you guys to read this. For the entirety of my career, I have fought against the powerful people and powerful corporations. I will never stop fighting that good fight. I am highly confident that when all of the evidence is laid bare in connection with these cases, when it is all known, when due process occurs, that I will be fully exonerated and justice will be done. He also said in a tweet he never attempted to extort Nike. When the evidence is disclosed, the public will learn the truth about Nike's crime and cover-up. Now, I feel like he has to say that, first of all. I don't think there is anywhere for him to go outside of that. But it's just, I'm just kind of blown away, because there's two things to this. I guess on the conspiracy side of me, there's like, okay, maybe he did have this big story about Nike that was really going to harm them, and the powers that be made a decision that was like, hey, let's take care of this in some way. Again, allegedly. This is all alleged. I'm not saying this is what Nike did, but that's like the conspiracy theory. But then the other side is like, this guy is just a bad person, and instead of being on the right side of things and fighting these powerful corporations, he was just trying to get money for himself and his company. I don't know. Feel free to jump in here if I'm like going off the rails here, guys, because I want to say I don't know which way to lean on this one.
Go ahead, Tiffany.
I think I was really surprised by it, just because, like, this guy knows the court system fairly well, right? I mean, he has to know the law system and the court system fairly well. So just knowing by tweeting that, he had to know, like, this had to be part of a plan, right? I don't feel like any of this was not fully part of his plan. So it kind of makes me wonder why he would have posted the tweets then. I mean, I don't know. It's such a strange dynamic to me, the whole thing. And why would you say that so abruptly and so grossly when you know if you're wrong? I mean, there's so much trouble you're in. There's so much, right? So...
Right.
I just I don't know. I don't know which side of it to be on either. You know, I would have thought when the other NCAA investigations were happening, they would have uncovered if, you know, because they found Adidas at fault, you know, for whatever. I believe they investigated Nike too at the same time. And so it's just like, did they not find anything there, or did they, you know, like, I would have thought it would have came out then, but he makes it seem like there's more to the story, and I just assume that someone who's this bold with it has a pocket full of evidence. Because why would you bother?
So after he came out from being arrested, he tweeted out like receipts supposedly showing withdrawals and payments to, at least in the story that I was looking at, was Bol and DeAndre Ayton, and you know, it was like $10,000. But then he goes on to say that there were, cash transactions that weren't accounted for. And what I think is really fascinating about it is the approach that he took to it is absolutely insane. Like, he, as you said earlier, Tiffany, he's one of those people that's familiar with the law and the courts. And I mean, why go about it this way? That's the part I don't. It's just like, I'm dumbfounded by that.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe it follows the university things that are going on, right? All the famous people that paid to have their kids, and maybe he thought that was going to drive more
I forgot about
attention.
that. Yeah,
right. Maybe. I mean, I mean, I guess here's an angle too. It's both. Maybe he does have a bunch of evidence that Nike has been doing something wrong, and maybe he was also.
Going for it.
I don't want to say stupid. He was trying to go for it, and like, instead of doing this, hey, let me see if I can get some money out of this, and making a bad name for himself. Because I mean, I guess the reality of it is he won't really benefit from it if he exposes Nike. There's really no benefit to him in a sense. Like, he doesn't, like, financially, there's no benefit to him unless he, I guess it helps him pick up clients or something, I guess.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
I mean, maybe he already has clients.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe so.
I mean, the easiest solution to save all the hassle and all the drama and all the coverage that comes from this is just paying college athletes to play.
That's true. That's an entirely different conversation and a different podcast. I think everyone would agree that would definitely change a lot and stop a lot of this sort of stuff that's going on, all the payments that are happening under the table. Because I think everybody pretty much understands at this point that there's money moving at some point in this world, and like, the NCAA just can't continue to collect this mounds and mounds of money and let these athletes go without being paid, especially when they're making so much money for the NCAA and for all of these schools. I did a little research into this story, and even like Stormy Daniels has like distanced herself from him. And you know what? That's very biased by me saying even Stormy Daniels. I'll just say Stormy Daniels distanced herself from him as well. She's saying that he has been extremely dishonest, and that there'll be more announcements to come even from her about this, and that she'll withhold further public comment about Mr. Avenatti. And like, she's like, I'm saddened but not shocked by what happened. So, if one of his former clients is able to speak, with that sort of honesty, that she's saddened by it but not shocked by it, that to me kind of reveals a bit about his character. I think he just may be a bad lawyer. He just may be a bad seed in the bunch, and that's the truth of it. But hopefully it'll all come out.
Classes. He missed those important classes, and now he's confused about how law works.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe he's confused about how the law works. Maybe him and Lady Justice are at odds right now. But speaking of being at odds, the next story we have here is almost as I would say even more explosive than the Michael Avenatti Nike stuff. Avenatti. Yeah, we're gonna go with Avenatti. It's Lonzo Ball and the Big Baller brand. This one stings a little bit for me. And I'll let you guys talk about it, but I'll give the audience, which I'm sure they know most of it right now. Lonzo Ball and the Big Baller brand are going their separate ways. It seems that one of the co-owners of Big Baller brand, a friend of Lonzo Ball's father, who helped start the company, is reportedly stole $1.5 million. His name is Alan Foster. He's one of the co-founders. And it has, since then, Lonzo has distanced himself completely from the brand. And it's it's like the biggest news in the world right now, and I think everyone's really trying to get a grip on it and understand exactly what's going on. But I feel like there's multiple levels to this story, so I'm going to go ahead and toss this one over to Nick and just get your thoughts about it and kind of fill us in on what you know so far.
I mean, it's so hard to really know like what happened, what's actually going on, because it's all, you know, I feel like there's obviously like a wedge between the kids and the dad, and I think this kind of, personally, LeVar was always so over the top that it's not really a surprise to me that he's kind of on his own in this whole relationship when it comes to the brand and like the kids playing and stuff. Because he was just so over the top that you almost knew that it had to come to something crazy like this. But obviously, you know, it's family stuff, and I think family stuff happens all the time. But the guy, the business manager, Alan Foster, I think is like the root of all the headache, right? And to me, the little that I've read on the story is that he already was busted for stuff anyway. So why would LeVar even, you know, you already know this guy's track record of scamming people and stealing from people. So why bother bringing him on to be a part of the business, even if it's a small percentage, right? Like if he has access to that stuff, he's already proven who he is or what his character is. So you almost knew that was coming too. And I just feel like, you know, I've been impressed by Big Baller Brand in the sense of being able to create a buzz around something that really didn't deserve it, in my opinion. Like, I think Lonzo Ball is an incredible athlete. I think he would be a, you know, mid-level hyper dunk wearing Nike athlete, but I don't think he's like a signature athlete. I don't think he's driving a ton of sales. Like, I mean, in LA, you can go into any Ross and Marshalls and pick up his jersey for $20. So I think that he's a lot of energy for the team, but like the Big Baller Brand, I don't think you can support the $500 price point or all of the stuff that they were pushing and actually make a legitimate business out of it by really just selling, you know, t-shirts. And that to me is like the weirdest part of this whole thing. It's almost like if I'm LeVar and I have kids that are going into the league, my first thought is let them do their thing. I mean, I get that they were trying to do something innovative and push the envelope, and I respect that. But by doing that, you also created or took away a lot of opportunities for Lonzo to establish himself with a brand and become that, you know, I think of like Paul George, and like it took Paul George a little bit of time to get to the point of having his own signature. And maybe Lonzo could have had that had he not had this, you know, talking head father going on ESPN in front of him all the time.
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, I kind of don't know what to make of it. I'm not entirely surprised, but I feel like I feel for Alonzo, you know, because he's having to put a stake in the ground with his family, and I never like to see that, right? You know, and right. So that I feel like that's sad on some level. On another, like his whole career, the beginning of his career at least, was colored by this BBB, right? Their brand, you know, and bringing up a shoe brand, and like instead of just focusing on basketball, you know, that was maybe on some level a distraction or an additional pressure that maybe these kids didn't really need, you know, like that's why, like, I think you never see a signature shoe too early in someone's career.
Yeah.
You know, because they need to establish themselves. They need to get used to the situation. They're dealing with so much that first year and those first 2 years in big ball and in NFL, NBA, any of them, that, man, I would feel like the shoe thing was just a distraction, you know. And I think it also, you know, they don't know the business. It's very hard to build a footwear brand and build it big. Like, you can't just build a Nike or Adidas or Puma overnight. These are decades of trial and error of
Right.
thousands and thousands of styles to get to where these guys are. Like, that is not to be taken lightly. Not at all. I mean, some of the questions I get about, like, you know, people starting brands and stuff, they just have no clue what they're in for. And so
Yeah.
I'm kind of proud of him on some point. You know, if this is accurate, the story is accurate, and this is what happened, yeah, I mean, he should step away and focus on himself and take care of himself. And you know, he's a talented kid, you know, so he could definitely probably be with one of the other brands. I mean, what do you guys think about the rumors of him going to Nike?
So that is interesting. I think Lonzo has a lot of opportunity ahead of him, and I think signing to Nike is obviously like every kid's dream, and so like I think that's what everyone expects of him. So I would almost want to see him, you know, just kind of step away from everything right now and just not immediately brand himself in a certain kind of way. Allow all this to kind of go away. Like for me, like I like the idea of Big Baller Brand. Like I'm not opposed to him resurrecting Big Baller Brand in some way without this guy Alan Foster. Like if his, you know, maybe, I don't know, maybe his dad didn't know. Like I still want him to maintain that family business. I think there is a value to that, and I think it sets a precedent for other athletes to see what options they have. Especially when things are done right. I mean, I think we all know Big Baller Brand just didn't feel premium, and a lot of that had to do with, like, obviously the logo, which was terrible.
Wait, compare it to Under Armour? Which one's better?
Oh my goodness. Well, I think I'm partial to Under Armour just because I'm familiar with it. But the Big Baller Brand, I felt like it was the Better Business Bureau every time I saw it.
Yeah, me too.
But like I feel like there's an opportunity there if they had the right people in place. Like it could be something bigger and something that could really, you know, help change the landscape for college athletes when they go to the pros and almost set a template for them. Not everyone's going to be able to create their own brand, and they were able to do that and get it recognized throughout the world. Like as much as we like to make jokes about LeVar, he brought Big Baller Brand into the living rooms of the American public. And that's a hard thing to do. There's companies out there that spend millions and millions and millions of dollars, and they're not able to do that.
Yep, it's true.
You know what I mean? So there's, if there's some way for them to, and even if it's not Big Baller Brand, whether they just come back as, Ball Family Enterprises or whatever it's
the BFE.
BFE. Yeah. Ball Family Worldwide. I don't know what they're going to call it. BFW. I feel like there's an opportunity. I just feel like there's still an opportunity there for him. Like Lonzo's a good player. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Laker fan. Like I think he's a good player, and if he can establish his own presence, and this gives them opportunity to kind of separate from all of the past things that have happened with the brand. If all he has to do is launch a brand and it's going to be in the headlines just because of who he is and everything that's kind of gone on with him. So he gets the right people in place and does things the right way. He can easily say, oh, okay, the ZO brand, the Zoe sneakers or whatever he wants to call it. There's a huge opportunity there. And I just, I don't know. I don't know if I want him to sign with Nike more than I want him to kind of, if you're stepping out on your own, really go ahead and step out on your own and continue on the path that was started by your father. Maybe he didn't do it the right way or go the right direction, but there may be an opportunity for him to put the right people in place and continue that that dream or continue that path, but in a way that works better for him as an individual. If that makes sense to you guys.
Yeah, I think I mean, so going back to like LeVar and his ability to get the like awareness out there, you know, I think it's just because he's the one and only person that can beat Michael Jordan one-on-one, right?
True.
So I mean, at that once you're at that level, then everything's easy. I would assume, but I do think that like when I was reading, so there's a few things that I was going to point out. I found it interesting that there was like some report that said that all three of the guys, all the sons had unfollowed Big Baller Brand on social and kind of disconnected from it. But then when I was reading one of the articles, Lonzo owned 51%. The mom and dad were at like 16.3 or whatever, and then Allen was at 16.3 as well, or in that range. So technically, Lonzo's owned the whole thing. Has enough ownership to be the decider in all of the situations that come up. So to that point, I really do hope that he takes some time off about it just to think about that possibility, right? Because right now he might be frustrated and want to distance himself from the brand, from the family, like that kind of stuff happens. But like you said, there's been a lot of success, like Big Baller Brand. I don't know how it is around the rest of the country or around the world, but like you almost can't go anywhere in LA without seeing Big Baller Brand somewhere in a day. And that to me has a lot of value to it. If he's willing to be patient about it and feel out how it can work. But I also totally understand if he just jumps to Nike, right? He's a Laker fan, he's a Kobe fan, and with LeBron on his team in his ear, that would be such an easy transition to say Big Baller Brand is over, we start fresh next season or whenever that is. But what I really think is fascinating is like the kind of camaraderie between the three sons, and how obviously like LeVar has like positioned himself on the opposite side of that. So if you think about it, like I'm making a big assumption because obviously you don't know the financials of everything, but like I would assume that Lonzo's opportunities in the NBA and the previous opportunities that they talked about before Big Baller Brand came out, where supposedly he'd had a deal, multi-million-dollar deal with Nike on the table, multi-million-dollar deal with Adidas on the table. I would assume that he's like, quote, the breadwinner within the family. And that to me is even more powerful, I guess is the right way to put it, where you could really define, like you said, whether that's Big Baller Brand again, or whether that's, BFE or Zoe or any of those things that he wants, like he could easily take charge of that. And, at least as of right now, he's the face of the family, regardless of how, LeVar goes out and, gets ESPN time or how well the other brothers play. He's the one that has the spotlight. And with LeBron in LA, as long as the two of them are in LA, he's always going to have a much bigger spotlight on him than anybody else in the family.
Right. No, that's accurate. That's true. Until one of the other brothers make it to the NBA, he's going to be the dude. He's going to be the dude. So I think at the end of the day for me, more importantly, I think, is like, I just hope the family is good. At the end of the day, money can easily come between people, and at the end of the day, like, my biggest hope is that the Ball family is good. The Ball family makes it through this, and that this doesn't do anything to affect the family relationship. Money can do strange things, and if really this guy Allen Foster is the outlier, I imagine his father has distanced himself from him. And made peace with his son, and they're working through that. which I think is the most important thing. Luckily, Lonzo isn't playing right now because of his ankle, so that he doesn't have to worry about bringing all of this extra drama onto the court and affecting his career. So I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, but his father vowed to make it right with Lonzo, so hopefully that's what's going to happen. And LaMelo and Joe don't have to bear the brunt of this or deal with that either. So that's the hope. So those are my thoughts. Those are our thoughts. That's what we're thinking here on the Outside the Box podcast. Of course, we want to know what you guys think. What do you think about the Lonzo Ball situation with Big Baller Brand, with his father LeVar? What do you think LaMelo should do? What do you guys think Jello should do? Let us know in the comments, either here on YouTube or on the podcast or on Instagram or on the Twitters. And also, I'm going to say I'm a little disappointed. I was expecting to get more relationship questions here on the Outside the Box podcast, and they have been few and far between. And I'm going to take that in one of two ways. One, either my advice so far has been so good that you guys don't need it that often, and that it just permeates through the atmosphere and through the universe. It's just like a good vibe that goes everywhere. Or two, you just don't want Bay to know that you're asking me for advice. So one of those two has to be what it is, and the reason why we're not getting relationship questions. So I just want to put it out there. We'll keep you anonymous. Don't worry about Bay finding out. But the information we give here on the show, mine in particular, is probably the best you're going to get. So just putting that out there. As always, I am Jacques Slade. This is the Outside the Box podcast. You can find me at Kusto, Kustoo. That's all over the internet. That's on Bumble. That's on Twitter. That's on Instagram. That's on Snap. That's on Grindr. That's on WhatsApp. That's on Facebook. And I think it's even on TikTok as soon as I find out how to use it. But again, this show would not be what it is without the two fabulous people we have here on the show. Nick, go ahead and tell them where they can find you.
Nick Engvall, at Nick Engvall on all platforms, NickEngvall. I also have a site called Sneaker History. It's at Sneaker History on all platforms. But that's really about it. I stick to the basics of social. Jacques likes to get a little crazy, so I'm out here. I'm out here. I'm not out there like that. So, but more importantly, Tiffany, let them know how they can find you.
Not on any of those sites. I'm on just Instagram and YouTube, and barely. So Tiffany Beers, TiffanyBeers. And I don't know, Jacques, I think we're going to have to cancel the spin-off relationship podcast. I mean, I just think there's not enough interest. What do you think?
And that hurts. That hurts. I was really hoping, here's the thing, guys. We were going to do this. We do Outside the Box podcast. We were going to do another show called Open Your Heart with Jacques Slade. But if we don't get enough relationship questions, I don't know if Open Your Heart is going to work. So I need you.
You might have to talk about sneakers.
So I need you guys to submit your questions. I get it. It's really good. It's really good. Listen. It's good. All you have to do is open your heart and trust, and that's what I'm here for. All right, guys. As always, we appreciate you. Make sure you leave us comments and all of that good stuff. Outside pods all over the internet. I'm Jacques Slade with Nick Engvall and Tiffany Beers, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.